Hi, I'm Dia and you guys are watching Dianosaur. I hope my microphone is properly connected to my phone because I don't know what is happening. The pin that I have, it's not going in properly, like as if there's something inside that is obstructing the entry of the pin. I don't know. Let's cross our fingers and hope that this video will be like audible to you. Anyway, so today we are doing something different. Today we are gonna do a sit down casual chatty kind of a video. So uh, if you guys have been following booktube for a while, you guys know who Merphy Napier is, and she recently posted a video about slowing down your reading. So I thought that's a very interesting topic to talk about, and I wanted to share my thoughts and how I do things, like what is my way of doing things and all that. I'll just share that with you. So in her video, first of all, if you don't know who Merphy Napier is, you should like go and check out her channel. She is this really amazing YouTuber who does these thought-provoking discussion type videos along with the usual bookish content that people do. And I have always like her videos always have given me food for thought. it, the videos have made me think about how I read and why I read and why I do things the way I do. And this video, I felt that I need to talk about it because now I have a channel, so I have sort of a platform. I have this corner over on the internet where I can talk to you guys about different things. So I thought I would share my thoughts on slow reading. So what exactly she said in the video was that books take different books take different time. Like you read different books at different paces. So in my case, sorry, my phone keeps turning off, the video keeps shutting down for some reason. I don't know, I need to figure out what is wrong with it. So anyway, I'm using the front camera today because I need to see if the, like, when I use the rear camera, the main camera of the phone, I'm always scared that I'll keep talking and talking and talking, the video will cut off in the middle and I won't notice, and I would have to film the entire thing from the start. And that's one of my biggest not irrational, it has happened quite a few times, so it's one of my biggest fears as a YouTuber. I was gonna say as a person, but as a person, I mean, you know, there are worse things than your video cutting off and you having to refilm the entire thing. Anyway, like you know, I'm giving you an example of what worst thing that can happen to you, and that is the wand of your lipstick breaking off, or the wand of your favorite lipstick breaking off, and like when you try to pull it out, the wand will break and it will stay inside. So you won't have any way to fix the wand and reuse it again or something like that. Anyway, I'm blabbering, I'm going off topic. We were talking about reading and slow reading. So what I wanted to say is that I do read different books at different paces. So for example, if I'm reading a mystery thriller book, I would read it really fast, like I would be inhaling that book. For example, last year in october october or November, I can't remember exactly, let's say October. Last year in October, I read around 14 to 15 books that month. And I usually, my usual count is like 5 to 6 books. And so what I did differently that month was that I read a lot of mystery thriller or horror books, and I read them via audio. And I found that when I do books via audio, instead of slowing down as other people complain that when they do audio they slow down a lot, I speed up. So, for example, I would start listening to the audiobook at 1.2 or 1.3x speed, and then I would, like as I would get used to the speed, I would keep on increasing, turning up the speed. So, from that speed, I can go up to 1.8 or 2x speed or something, like even higher than 2x. The highest I've gone is 2.2x, and I won't suggest that you guys do that if you want to really, like immerse yourself into the book, like the soak up the book, experience all the, imagery and the character work and everything, uh, in its totality, like it was meant to be. Audiobooks, when you listen to it at such high speed, in my opinion, I feel that you experience this, you don't experience the story, get you just I mean, the story is thrown at you, and whatever sticks to you, that is it, that is what you take in, and whatever misses you, you don't get to take in that part. And some books, I would say, are meant for that kind of consumption. So, for example, mystery thrillers, I don't read mystery thrillers for character work or beautiful prose or, like haunting imagery or something like that. Mystery thrillers I read just to, you know, consume the plot of the book, just to see, okay, this crime happened and how it was solved and why it was done in the first place, and that's it. That's what I want to get out of a mystery thriller book. And for that, I don't mind if I, go up to 2x speed and just experience the book in this, this, like you experience, fast food. You just inhale the food instead of, savoring every bite, and uh, just immersing yourself into it. So, some books, I feel that they are made for that kind of consumption. Now, is that bad? That is not bad. If the author intends you to, you know experience it in a certain way, and you are experiencing it in that way, then who am I to tell you that you are wrong? Like, for example, an author, they have written this intricate plot, but they have not included, their writing is very bare bones, and their character work is not there, and you like that kind of a book, and you know consume it in such a way that you will only remember the plot after a while, you won't remember the characters or anything. So then, i I mean, you are getting what the author intended for you to get from the book, and it's a win-win situation. But what if you are reading, something that was not meant for that kind of uh, consumption? So, for example, I would say I am reading this one, uh, Boudica Dreaming the Eagle. Will it? Yeah. Oh, it's. Uh, okay, I need to invert this thingy. Anyway, I'm reading Boudica Dreaming the Eagle, and it's a very, the first part one is very slow, very deliberate, very full of imagery and mm, like fancy words and all that. And I can read up to 200 pages a day. I read 200 pages of this book in 4 days. Took me 4 days to read it. But did did I, like, I wanted to take it slow because I wanted to, you know, like savor every word of it, take take in like the essence of the book, the atmosphere it was creating. Like, I wanted to get the full experience of immersing myself into this book. But if I had read it, for example, if I had read part 1 in one day, that would have resulted in me not getting what the author intended for me to get. Now, you can say that, once the author has finished writing the book belongs to the reader. It's up to the reader what they gain from the book, and it's not something like, I mean, you guys will say that, an author telling you that this is how you should read the book is the most annoying thing in the world. I agree, I really agree. But sometimes there are certain books that the way the author intended you to consume, if you consume it that way, you are gonna get a lot more than if you consume it in such a way that hampers your experience of it. So, for example, I listened to An Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman yesterday, and again, I was increasing the speed. Like, I started at 1.2x, then I turned it up to 1.4, and then I kept increasing it. And I have a feeling that it's this bad habit that I have developed, when I started reading audio. And I feel that, I need to, whenever I'm getting used to the sound, whenever I'm feeling comfortable with the sound, I feel like, this is not it. I need to turn up the speed. And I don't know why I do that, and that is a very, very bad uh, habit. And instead of, like soaking up the narration, instead of, like hanging on to every word of the author and everything, it was like I was as if trying to catch a train. So that is a saying in Bengali, like when you are in a hurry, you say as if you're trying to catch a train. So I listened to it at, finally I was listening like at around 1.8x or something, and I won't say it hampered my experience, but I would say that if I had read it at a lower speed, I it would have stayed with me a lot more. So when I do speed reading, so I tend to not hold on to information for a long time, and I already have a very slippery brain. Like, it's smooth, absolutely no ridges or anything, and nothing sticks. I have difficulty, like too much trouble, I feel I have remembering stuff. And that is, made worse when I speed read. So, for example, I would say when I read Miss Pond in 2020, I flew through the books. Like, I binged the entire thing in 2 weeks, those chunky books, and the end result is that I don't remember much. I just remember things from the first book. I don't remember much from the second book. I remember the ending of the last book, but that's it. And also, I don't remember where one book finishes and the other book starts. Like, I remember where book 1 ended, but I don't remember where book 2 ended and book 3 started, and all the things that happened. Like, I have a vague idea, but I don't have this clear, you know like the information is not clear in my head. So, I mean, when we are, reading fast, we it's not that we are comparing ourselves to others. I mean, definitely that is there. Like, I feel when I see other people reading like 12, 13 books a month, or even 20 books a month, like some people read 20 books, like how is that possible? I don't know. Anyway, when I see that, sometimes I feel that, you know maybe I should be reading. Like, sometimes I feel guilty when I'm not reading and doing something else, and I'll feel that, okay, it again got cut off. So I feel that whenever I'm doing something, for example, whenever I'm painting or, going out or something like that, and I'm listening to music instead of an audiobook, I feel that, oh no, like I should be reading, like I'm wasting so much time. And that is not, something you should feel. Like you are reading for fun. This is a fun thing. This is a hobby. This is not something, this is not a compulsion. This is not someone is asking you to do. This is you are doing because you wanted to do. And when it becomes like a chore, not chore, when it makes you feel guilty for not reading, that is like, you know a very sad thing. What happens is that I feel that we compare ourselves to other people, and also we compare ourselves to ourselves. Like for example, I would feel at times, okay, last year I read these amount of books, this year I have to beat that or something like that. Last month I read so many books, why can't I read like even one book this month? And I need to be kind to myself, I need to be understanding, I need to think that that just because I did something at one point doesn't mean that I have to do it. Like it's not tied to reading. The number of books I read is not tied to my self image, and the number of books I read, I like, if I don't read the same number of books I read last month or last year, that doesn't make me a poser. Like that's just it, that's just the human condition. So I why do I read fast? I read fast because I feel that this book is you know no, full of non-stop action and page turning events and all that, and I need to I have this compulsion to know what is gonna happen next, and that's why I read fast. I read fast because I want to get to the ending. I read fast because I feel that I have a lot of books to read and review, and that is another thing I wanted to talk about. Not everyone is a reviewer, but I have started reviewing indie books, and I feel that the more I read, the more books I can review, and the more authors will get the limelight on them. So that is another thing that makes me read fast. Like deadlines and stuff like that, that I would have to put out a review before the book comes out or something like that. That makes me read fast. Like popcorn books, they make me read fast. If you feel that reading fast doesn't hamper your reading of a character driven or an atmospheric book, then I mean, you do you. I don't have anything to say to that. But I feel, for me personally, if I read fast, I tend to lose information. Like I tend to not retain information in the long run. So for example, I read what do you call it, book of the ancestor, I think. Red sister, gray sister and holy sister, that's the name, right? Red sister, that series, I read it very fast, and I don't remember anything from that. Like I don't remember what happened in book 1, 2 or 3, or where book 1 ended and where book 2 started, or where book 2 ended and book 3 started. And just like Mistborn, I don't remember much about it. But something that I read kind of slow, for example, Priory of the Orange Tree, I remember it more than Red Sister trilogy, and I feel that for me it works out better if I tend to read the character driven, the atmospheric books with like lyrical prose and all that. If I read those books a bit slower. And another thing that Murphy talked about in another video of hers, she said that reading is changing, reading is becoming more social. So that is another thing I feel that is making us, want to read faster. Because you I mean, if I'm talking about myself, I see people reading books that I want to read too, and I get FOMO, like fear of missing out. Like, I'll be like, oh my god, these people are reading this particular book together and they're gonna talk about it, and I won't be able to be a part of that conversation. Like, I can always, read it later and come back and talk to them about it, but it won't be the same as everyone experiencing for it for the first time, at the same time. For the first time at the same time, does it make sense? Anyway, this entire video is not gonna make sense. It's a rambly jumble of a video. Anyway, so I get fear of missing out, I get FOMO a lot, and I join buddy reads. Like, I will be like, oh, you are reading that book, I also want to read that book, so let's read it together. Or I'll see other people, reading something together. I'll be like, oh, I mean, I have been meaning to read that book for a while now. I'll get the book and okay, is it recording? Yeah. I'll get the book and we can, read it together. And after a while, I will be like drowning under the weight of buddy reads, and that will make me want to, read faster so that I can accommodate every book within that month or within that time period. So, for example, in the beginning of the year, I was a part of so many read alongs. So, what I did, I felt so overwhelmed that I dropped out of almost all of them. I was in a reading slump. Like, I couldn't read more than 10 pages a day. Like, I had to force myself to read, and that is not something you want to do. Reading is something that is not a job. Like, at least for me, it's not a job. It's something I do for hobby. It's something I do on the side that gives me, pleasure. I find joy in reading, and if reading makes me, like anxious, then I'm doing something wrong. Buddy reads are gonna be the end of us if we don't stop. We need to understand that, you know the books are not going anywhere. The books are gonna stay. We need to understand that we have to be patient, that we can't read everything at the same time as other people are reading it. We need to understand that, just because you are reading it with other people does not make your reading experience better than if you had read it solo. Like, that is something that I feel that I need to understand first. I still haven't. Like, I still get FOMO when other people say, "Oh, I'm reading this book too." I'm reading this book, and you feel like, you need to read it too. If it's on your TBR, like physical TBR, or your, like, normal, like the Goodreads TBR thingy. So I need to realize myself that just because I didn't read the book with other people does not mean that it won't, have the same impact on me if I read it solo. Like, for example, before the time of internet, I used to read books solo. Like, it was this very personal thing to me, very personal experience of mine. And at that point, I loved books. Like, I enjoyed a lot of books, I hated a few of them, I was meh about a couple of them. It was a mixed bag. what Why do I think right now that, I can change my enjoyment of a book just by reading it with other people? Like, for example, I got Boudica. Okay, I'm not gonna hold it up again. Anyway, you can see it's here. I got Boudica because the brothers Gwyn talked about it. I had planned to read it later this year, but when the Brothers Queen announced the read along, yeah, so I was like, I need to read it. If I had waited and read it after everyone was done, I think I would have enjoyed it the same. The only difference would have been that uh, everyone else would have read it before me, and therefore they would be like, the discussion would have been different around the book, or there would have been no, like there might not have been any discussion because they might have moved on to a different book and they don't want to discuss it with me. Just because I read a book and I could not discuss it with other people does not change the fact that I enjoyed the book. So, for example, if I read one chapter of this book, while reading the chapter, this is a very solitary thing, right? Like, this is just me and the book. So, I'm not watching the. In movies, you watch it with other people. Games, you can play with other people. Books, you can, like, unless you and someone else are listening to an audiobook at the same time, like in the same room, books are a very personal experience, like a solo experience. So that experience, nothing else can take away from that experience. Like, if you like the book, you like the book. Later on you can discuss it too, like you can split hairs and all that, do all that kind of discussion and stuff, but nothing is gonna take away from your experience of reading the book. I think I have been beating the, like, I have been talking about the same thing for a long time. Anyway, so that we need to understand, that I need to understand first before telling you guys. So, reading has become a social thing, which is not bad. I mean, love for reading, it has not changed since books were a thing. Like, it has changed what it looks like its appearance has changed, but people's love for reading, that hasn't changed. Like, people still love that experience of immersing oneself in the book and just seeing what the author intended for them to see and all that. So that thing hasn't changed, and that is not going to change in the future. It's going to change what it looks like on the outside, but the core values, like why you read and all that kind of stuff, that's going to stay the same. Like, I basically read because I want to get lost in different worlds, meet new interesting characters, and just you know be in a different world. Like, I read for escapism. So if you read for fun, if you read for intellectual purposes, if you read for whatever reason, that is not gonna change. So yeah, I think I will end the video here, and let me, like, comment down below if you think I should do more rambly chatty videos. And I mean, I know what's the consensus. I am still like congested a bit, so the n's and the m's are gonna sound a bit weird. So I know what the consensus is gonna be in the comments, you guys. I mean, I rambled, like, I was like given free reign and I just talked about whatever came to my mind, and you guys will be like, please stop. Like, we can't take it anymore. So anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm planning to do a live chat in the evening at 8 o'clock. So yeah, be there if you can. Bye.